This is Papa Smurf. You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, with ODB and the Mayor.
Yo, this is Rob Maggi, and you're listening to Our Lifestyle podcast.
Yo, as we get started, we want to thank our title sponsor, Scrapin' the Coast. You can visit scrapinthecoast.com for more information. Their next event, 22nd annual, is going to be the last weekend in June. They haven't yet announced it for 2024, but rest assured we will be out there. One of the biggest, baddest shows in the country. Get ready for more information coming soon on Scrapin' the Coast. Tap on the hashtag #ScrapinTheCoast for more information. We appreciate the continued support of Custom Car Show Productions.
Yo,
you banging it out over there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, it's always crazy. Always crazy, dog.
Yo. Merry holidays. It's ODB from OLP, and we are in the holiday season with the holiday cheer. Miggity Mike the Mayor, was that you over there with some scratchers?
Dude, I just finished my scratchers, and guess what? All three of them not winners, bro. I'm on this cold streak right now with my scratchers, bro. I don't get it, but no fear. The holiday season is here, and I see many scratchers in my future.
Yep. Tell Shannon to get with me, and I'll tell her the right ones to get. Now, in all seriousness, I do want to break in here with some breaking news, and this is not easy to share. I do want to say this at the beginning, Mike. This is the holiday season, and we typically do not like to have to start a podcast. We typically won't. We'll wait until further in, but it's very, very unfortunate news, Mike, that someone in our scene, someone that I last talked to face-to-face at Mini Nats, which is one of our favorite shows every April, was Josh Pascal, and he was a beloved member of RA. I recall him getting in years ago, several years back. I don't exactly remember the year, but certainly you see how the camaraderie in our scene knows, no sticker, no club, if you will, because what we've seen is throughout the entire truck scene, there's been everybody posting about rest in peace, Josh Pascal, and I just hate to have to share that with everyone, man.
No, it absolutely, it sucks to, somebody that's only 37 years old and, somebody that, so many people, liked and enjoyed his company. And, he's no longer here with us. And that's why we talk about all the time as far as, life's too short. You never know. So, cherish it, man, because you never know when your time's up.
Yeah, it's 1,000, and when I first saw it the other day, it didn't register. It took me a few hours because I kind of put my phone down and I looked back later at Facebook and I kept seeing it, and so many people posted about it. I will tell you, what I was trying to say a moment ago is like our kind of scene doesn't know any boundaries, meaning that, the scene always comes together, and that was where my thought was at, but Mike, we've seen in the past Ron Perkins, when he owned Hammered Weekend Wear, do similar things. But we got to give a lot of love to Tony Moore and the team there at Asphalt Army. I just saw a little while ago, I think it was technically on Monday, he posted he had gotten okay from the friends and family, and he's doing a special sticker run. All of the money is going to Josh's family. You can imagine during this difficult time. And from what I saw is you basically go to Asphalt Army, ASPHALT Army.com, and the stickers, Mike, are $5. You'll see it on the front there. It's the Josh Pascal Old Girl, I believe is what he referred to his S10 Sonoma as. They're $5, and if you order like 5 of them, the shipping is only $1. It doesn't matter how many you order.
Yeah, and Tony, man, stand-up guy, and that doesn't surprise me that he would do something to help raise money for Josh's family. So like you said, man, it's something that we definitely don't want to think about, talk about, but unfortunately, it's a part of life, and so yeah, it's definitely a sad thing, and with that being said, definitely want to give a shout out to our man, our boy. He's been in the hospital. He had surgeries, and it sounds like after I seen a post the other day, he went back in the hospital, and Shane, he's back in the hospital, and definitely want to just let Shane know that he doesn't want to, he hasn't been answering phone calls or text messages or anything like that. But Shane, if you do listen to this, just let you know that you are in our thoughts and our prayers, man. We're thinking about you, buddy. We hope for a speedy recovery.
Yeah, 100%. And I think when we recorded the last time, I don't think that I had seen that he was in there. And of course, I did afterwards. It's Shane_Andrews_ on Instagram. Anchors Away, I think, was his other Instagram at one point. But of course, no stranger to OLP. I consider him OLP family. He knows that, and he's a good dude. And it goes back to the message that Mike and I try to send all the time, that none of us know. We can be preventive as much as we can, but there's some things in the universe that just, you can't get past, right? It's that life piece. So certainly, Shane, I want to let you know we're thinking of you. We'll give some more shout outs and good vibes later on this episode, but I will say this. I just saw it right before we started. Jason Bell, his father went in for some surgery. Jason, of course, is gearing up for the 30th annual Southeast Mini Truckin Nationals, which is every April in Maggie Valley. Of course, you can come get an armband. You can cruise for free in the streets. But his dad, I sent good vibes in my head and kind of what I do with my little ritual. And certainly he mentioned that things were looking up. So much love to your pops and everybody out there. It's the holiday season. It's tough. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get going. But, Mike, I do want to give a huge shout-out again to our title sponsor. You hear it at the top every episode, Scraping the Coast. Of course, we'll be out there in June. It's typically that last weekend in the month of June, and it's a Mini Truck Hall of Fame event. They're in the Mini Truck Hall of Fame, and we'll see you out there in Biloxi. Mike, on this episode, though, we basically have somebody that's been on the list a long time, Negative Camber, Florida member, Eric Cryan. Huge shout-out. Eric is a longtime mini trucker, a guy that's had his hands in a ton of projects, including some of my favorite trucks ever built that he's personally owned and built. He also, of course, for those that didn't know, Catch 22 will come up. Of course, he had his hands in that. But really just a guy that's been on the list a long time. So, Mike, I would encourage the listeners, hang with us here as we get through our normal content. And then we'll give you guys the exclusive with Eric Cryan. He took a couple minutes away from his busy schedule to sit down with us. So tip of the cap to Eric.
Oh, hats off, because I tell you what, he has built some amazing cars, trucks, interior, sound systems, you name it. The guy has done it, and he's definitely a staple in the scene for a long time.
Oh, yeah, and I've been saving some photos for this moment. I've got some good ones I got to scan, and we're going to get them out there, Mike, so everyone can see them.
Oh, leave it to ODB. You know it.
The overview of this episode is brought to you by our family at Hammered Weekend Wear. We tell you time and time again, it's HAMMERD, weekendwear.com. They have the open enrollment going for next year with the T-shirt subscription, the hoodie subscription, the banner subscription, you name it. If you're like me, maybe you have too many shirts in your closet and you go, man, maybe I need some hoodies because I live up in Alaska. Maybe you need some more banners for some of that truck smut on the garage wall. Of course, you want to hit up HAMMERD, weekendwear.com. Mike, the general updates, dude, just want to ask you, bro, I know it's been a couple weeks, but how was Thanksgiving, man? I know you guys usually do kind of a bigger shindig.
Yeah, no, we do our Friendsgiving every year here at the house, and we had a total of 23 this year, and it was absolutely amazing as always. Everybody brings some food, and we have a good time. I mean, it doesn't get any better than the 3 F's, man. You got the food, the family, and football. I mean, foosball. It doesn't get any better than that, bro. And the deep fried turkey, guys. If you've never deep fried a turkey, you got to do it. It is the best way. Now, Oven cooked or deep fried? Which one do you prefer, ODB?
Well, I did deep fry one, and I talked about it recently. It took me forever to get the oil hot. I didn't do it recently, but it was years ago, and I loved it. I need to get better at it, but I tell you what, my mother-in-law, she did something like a 20-some-odd pound turkey in the oven, dude, and it just was so perfect that here's the crazy thing. You mentioned the stars are aligning. You mentioned 23 guests. I turned the faux 5 on Happy Born Day for ODB Day, which is Thanksgiving this year. Now, I'm not saying it because I want people to tell me Happy Born Day. I'm saying it because it's crazy. 2-3 like Jordan. I came back wearing the faux 5 like Jordan. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did, brother. Yes, and we did not say, Happy Born Day to you. So yes, absolutely happy Born Day, my brother.
Dude, it's great. And here's the crazy thing. I mean, the stars keep aligning, Mike. I mean, you've never realized this, that your born day, of course, as we know, was on the Chronic, comes out in 9 Deuce. In 9 Trey, my born day is when Doggy Style came out, so we'll talk more about that in a minute. But, Mike, I mean, you can't make this stuff up, dude.
Well, hey, listen, you brought up the Chronic, and I want you to give us some background because obviously it's already been dropped. The pre-orders have been rolling in. People absolutely love this new artwork. How did you come up with this idea? Give us some feedback on this idea that you came up with.
1, 2, 3 into the 4. Miggity Mike the Mayor and ODB is at the door. Mike, I love some G-Funk. I love some West Coast. Kind of grew up in it. Big thanks to the big homie Paul Lane. Really got me ingrained in that West Coast vibe, in the late 80s into the 90s. And I bought the album, the CD. This is how old I am. I bought the CD on day 1. Back in those days, it was on Tuesday. And, of course, Snoop had come out a year prior. And, of course, they were saying that it was going to be the biggest debut album of all time. I think by like a rapper, but they were also just saying in general. And when the album came out, in those days, I was lucky to have a CD player. I bought a used CD player from our neighbor, and it was one of those like Walkman style ones, and it didn't even have the skip protection, Mike. Like you had to sit it down on a table and then put the earphones on. And I remember listening to it over and over again. And long story short, it's always been one of my favorite albums. And we had some other things in the work, and I started kicking myself. So I was able to work back with Graphic Disorder in time to say, hey, we want to go ahead and kind of move around some of our designs. Nothing had been, firm yet. We had paid for one, and we were waiting for another one. So we were ahead of time to be able to go, hey, I want to drop this on the 30th anniversary of Doggy Style. And I had this vision to kind of do something to pay homage to Snoop. Snoop's cousin, Joe Cool, did the artwork. And long story short, if you guys are listening to this, you got a couple more days. Go on our lifestylepodcast.com. You can pre-order now. We're going to have red or black. We've got banners. We've got hoodies. The larger sizes and things like that, you're going to have to get it on the pre-sale. But, Mike, that's kind of where it came from. Just really the love of, the album that I have. But you know how we do, man. We try to really connect the pop culture, the hip hop, whatever you want to call it, but pop culture in general to our designs. And now Cliff Josie is now going to be enshrined in the OLP verse.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Welcome.
Yeah, and he's a good dude. He's out there slinging packages like many of you guys, depending on the ladies, depending on what you do for a living. He's out there slinging brown boxes, right? What can brown do for you? And in this case, it was like, what can OLP do for you? And we said, yo, let's post it. I was going to share this later, but Mike, what was cool is I have a kind of an extensive collection of the Doggy Style. And sometimes, you feel like you share things and not a lot of people see it. But Snoop saw it, or someone from his team. My understanding is he does most of his social media. And they reshared it.
Let's just go, Jay, let's just go with Snoop seen it and Snoop shared it.
Snoop shared it. Late the 23rd into the 24th, like overnight, I had passed out from too much turkey, okay? I wake up one of the other collectors that I follow had commented back, and he said, "Yo, I saw Snoop shared your video," and I was like, "What?" I click on Snoop's Insta, boom, Cliff Josie's truck, of course, is at the end of that, but it still was cool. But it's also a tip of the cap to Brant and Shelley, the owners of Graphic Disorder, and of course Eric, right? One of their, my opinion, one of the top guns there. We got to tip our cap to them, because without them kind of bringing some of our visions to light, even with you guys, with Eastbound Get Down, without those visions coming to light, you get to a point where it's tough to sell stuff, right? And like Brand always said, man, the artwork is going to help push your product or your brand, and certainly it did this time. Snoop hopefully saw the end of the video. Of course, I know he did, because he would have cut it out. You know what I'm saying? If he thought we were trying to diss him with a Toyota. I love what you do for me, Toyota. And then you got to jump in the air. We're going to have to get Cliff Josie jumping in the air. That's it. With his legs up, holding the shirt in front of his truck. What do you think?
Dude, now that's some artwork right there, brother.
Yeah, if we could get Toyota to tweet it, I would say tweet, but now it's called X. So do I say, do we get them to exit? I don't know. That sounds
That's the dumbest
filthy.
thing.
That sounds
filthy. Exactly. That's the dumbest thing ever, dude. It's still Twitter. It's always going to be Twitter. I don't care what they sit there and talk about X this and X that and blah, blah, blah. It's always going to be Twitter.
I saw something on your phone, though, and I thought it was like XXX, and I was like, I didn't think Mike was on Twitter, but I don't know. That was Shannon said, "Don't worry about it." I was like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means either. I don't know.
Well, wasn't it a movie? Wasn't the guy from Fast and Furious in a movie called Triple X?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
that's
that was it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
See,
that's what it was. Yeah. Thanks for looking out.
Yeah, so Mike, get this. Last thing. So 11-23, my pack wins. We beat the rivals. We were underdogs, so we win. Snoop retweets the video, repost, whatever. We launched the new artwork featuring Cliff Josie's Yoda. People love it. All I got to say is it was a good day, and I had to blast some Ice Cube, so that's where we're at.
Well, not only did you have a good day there, but then you also took a trip and went out to Daytona, man. Tell us a little bit about that.
Daytona was a blast. It technically, my understanding was it was the 50th anniversary of the Daytona Turkey Run, which we all call, if you're a native Floridian, it's the Turkey Rod Run. And it's a Thursday through Sunday deal. I win on Saturday. Every year I say I'm going to stay longer. Jimmy's Rod and Customs open house, what they call the shop night on Saturday night. That's, of course, in conjunction with John Turner, Big Juice, from Trucks and Cheeseburgers / You Ain't Low Trucks. That was unreal. A lot of people, the biggest one I've seen. Now, I did not get a chance to go last year, but I will say this, Mike. I know there's a local guy. His name's Dallas. He's a super nice guy. A lot of these kinfolk, it's no particular club or whatnot, but it's a lot of friends. They get together and they get a good spot at the Daytona Turkey Rod Run. So I'm looking forward to maybe dovetailing into that. I mentioned it to Dallas. He said, yo, it's an open invite. I tell you, Mike, just getting inside, I walked underneath the track. The sights, the smells, the food. It was a little overcast, so it wasn't blazing hot. Like, it had everything. And I kind of just realized that day, walking around by myself, that, this is what I love, like the car and hot rod community. Deaners out there, Low Bros, Fatty B. You got classic trucks, tons of wagons, Lincolns. It's got a little bit for everyone, and I want to kind of ingrain myself more in that event as we go forward. So that's it.
No, it sounds like it. Every year it's always a good time. It's always a good turnout. And from the pictures and the videos, make sure you guys checking out our Lifestyle the Podcast, because ODB over there definitely posted up some cool ass videos. So definitely go and check those out, and you can see some of the cool things that ODB got to see.
No doubt. And I tell you what, the thing at Jimmy's Rod and Customs, Jimmy recently lost his father, and I wasn't sure how that was going to maybe impact the event. Knowing Jimmy, it was still going to go on, and it did. And it was cool to see so many people out there, so many different clubs, past customers, current customers, just people in general that, maybe you're from out of town and they cruised over there. I know Avenue Classics brought by the Barthmobile, the big kind of RV, which was super cool. But, Shulman was out there. A couple of our favorite people, Jenna Lease and Scott, Mike Hill, Daniel Smith, just tons of people. And it was super cool to slap hands and just kind of chat. The one homie remember the gentleman in the wheelchair every year at Lone Star Throwdown, he comes by and he buys merchandise, dude.
Yeah, he's from Minnesota.
Yeah, he's from Minnesota, and I see him, and then I kind of turn around, and I'm like, I know him, and I turn around, and he was talking to his girl, who he's been dating, and it's Dan, and Dan, he was telling her, like, I know that guy, and I go, hey, man, I know you, and I looked at his face, and I go, man, I know you from Lone Star. I'm like, what are you doing out here? And he kind of told me this whole story, this epic road trip he's been on. He found the girl that was there that he's been dating now for, I think, better part of a half a year or so. He said things are going good for him.
Oh, good deal. Yes. No, he I think it's been every year since we've set up at Lone Star. He's always come out and supported us.
Oh, yeah. And get this, Joe and Marlene from Branded Streets, they were there all the way up from Illinois. And I brought up, me, pop culture, I bring up the Home Alone house because I know it's in that greater Chicagoland. And they're like, oh, yeah, we were there last week. I was like, damn.
That's awesome.
So, good people. But, Mike, the general updates is brought to you by our kinfolk at Rose Metalworks / Spreading the Love. They're out there doing great things for the truck scene. Thanks for what you guys do. And we continue to want to see what they're we love to continue to see what they're doing in the scene. So, Mike, next we got the trivia with Miggity Mike the Mayor, and I got one question. Are you ready?
Are you ready? Hell yeah, brother. Let's do this.
Now it's time to get serious.
Now, a quick update. Last week we did do a video. Was it 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, we did a video episode. Now we're going to continue those going forward. We're just getting caught up with some of the audio in the can, so to speak. Starting next year, for the most part, and maybe with our best ofs at the end of this year, we'll continue those video episodes. So the video will be exclusive on our YouTube channel. The audio, of course, will continue to be available on YouTube if that's how you want to consume it, or via however you listen. But, Mike, so unfortunately, we do not have video evidence this time, but we're going to take your best word for it. Many people love this movie. I like it a lot. It's not my favorite Christmas movie, but that doesn't take anything away from it. It is a classic. Not a cult classic, Mike, so don't try to whittle it down. Don't try to whittle it down. But many of you love this movie, Elf, okay? And I'm just going to see, because I know supposedly you and Shannon like this one. So I want to see if you can finish this famous line. And
jeez.
Now, give everyone a second. If you do know it, Mike, give everyone a second, because the Joey Whitby's out there. You know what I mean? They'll start. He's almost got his dash out at this point, because I know he's been slammed. He's been pounding the fist, dude. And so we want to give everyone at home a chance. So finish this line. The best way to spread Christmas cheer is... The best way to spread Christmas cheer is...
Oh, man, and I remember he's sitting down because he's wanting his dad to do something with him. Bro. I don't... is to buy.
No,
give.
Come on, man.
Bro, I don't know. I don't know the answer, man. See, this is where Scotty's so much better than I am.
See, Scott.
And hats off to Scotty the Body, man. Filling in, and man, there's no comparison, bro. He knocked it out of the park. Him and Jay Church last week absolutely killed it. And here I come on here and sound like a fool because I have no idea.
Dude, well, here's the thing. Jenna Lease texted me afterwards and said, yo, she's already got a new podcast, I think, lined up for Scott and I. You know what I mean? And I said, well, Jenna Lease, we've already got this built over here. We just boot Mike to the side because he doesn't want to do it anyways, and then we're good to go.
There we go. See, and it's all set and ready to rock and roll.
It's singing loud for all to hear. The best
That's
way
when
to
they're
spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for
yes.
all to hear.
That's when they were trying to get the damn the sled to work.
Yeah.
Right? Wasn't
Yeah.
it like they had to have the cheer and yes. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And if you guys haven't seen on Netflix, check out the Christmas movies that made us, or whatever version of that where they do the movies that made us. But I think that one season is the Christmas movies. It's pretty cool. It's crazy to think, like, when you go back and watch that Netflix episode about Elf, like, they edited that movie like on a home Mac computer. It's like crazy to think that. I don't know. It's just mind blowing.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was crazy. They were talking about, because there was some controversy about the final edit of the film, and I think the director was like putting his heels in the ground, and they're like, "No, you need to change such and such," and then you have to watch the Netflix thing. It's pretty cool. But the trivia with Miggity Mike the Mayor this week is brought to you by the Sparks Show, one of our favorite shows out there, the sparksshow.com, every August in Sevierville, Tennessee, where currently the biggest Buc-ee's in the world is located. That's every August. TheSparkShow.com, one of the biggest, baddest shows in the country.
So what makes that the biggest and baddest Buc-ee's?
Well,
Is it the amount? Is it the amount of gas station, pumps, or is it just how big the actual store is it itself?
well, there's a rumor that Cousin Eddie rolled up in the RV, and he tried every shiz it or out, and it did not fill up. And he said, "Hey, it's the biggest one."
Oh, okay. All right. Well, see, this is why I asked, because I knew you had the answer.
Well,
I did not know that.
As soon as they announced that was the biggest one, Florida said, "Hold our liquid death water, and we're coming for you." So my understanding is the Ocala one that's currently in the works is going to be the biggest and baddest in the world. But Mike, they're looking to topple each other.
Well, of course. I mean, you can't just settle for being, second best. You got to go for the big dog.
Oh yeah. So Mike, ODB or Miggity Mike the Mayor, live and uncut. I just want to say this, dude, and you said it earlier. The holidays are here. I would encourage people, depending on your job or your career, take a little bit of time off, even if it's a day to spend with the family. Obviously, most people are going to be closed on Christmas, and depending on where you work, you might have an extra holiday in or whatnot. Some of you guys might have the whole week off. Who knows? But certainly, with the message that we've been trying to send here, I would encourage people, take time off, do what makes you happy. If you've got a family and you're looking to spend time with them, do that. And also, Mike, like with Jeff Davey coming on, New Year's coming up. Get your checkups, guys. I'm serious, man. You think about the health and well-being. And again, we put so much time and effort into our trucks, waxing, painting, cleaning, detailing, polishing billet, doing all that stuff. Let's do some preventive maintenance on ourselves, right, Mike? And I know you've been getting some good word from your doctors, and you've even, Mike, for you to back down a little bit off of some sweet tea, right? That's saying, that's like you, Mike, flexing your muscles, telling, Scotty the Body that you wrestle him to the ground.
Well, bro, sweet tea, Mountain Dew, and just from stopping and drinking those damn, soda, sweet tea, and really cut back on the sweets. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've completely cut it out, because I love me some damn ice cream. But dude, I've dropped 10 pounds,
dude,
because of it. So yeah, dude, it was easy because the last time I actually had a Mountain Dew is we were at Cruising with the Cruisers, and the damn barbecue guy that was set up next to Harvey and the Driven booth, all he had left was Mountain Dew. And I was like, oh man, I really need something to drink. And I was trying to get a water, and that's all he had. So I took I was like, all right, I'll drink it. Well, whatever. I haven't had one in forever. And dude, it doesn't even taste good anymore. It's so damn sweet. So yeah, it's definitely easy to do, man. It was not hard. I thought it was gonna be a lot harder than what it was.
Remember, George McFly said, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. And I truly believe that, Mike. I truly do. We'll talk more about that in the next episode. ODB Live and Uncut brought to you by Joey at Get Decked. So many of you, including Craig Braid and all the sitting pretty kinfolk up in the Pacific Northwest, are getting with Joey Dilworth at Get Decked. It's getdecked_VA for Virginia on Instagram, or Joey Dilworth, just how it sounds, on Facebook. Hit him up for your skate deck needs for 2024. So many of these shows, we know K-Dog trafficked over 100 of these across state lines to Lone Star Throwdown last year to help out the LST fam. And I'm telling you, the skate decks are what people want. Order some if you think that that's going to be a good thing for your show. And Mike, you could also, if people wanted to do like a kind of an insane top 10, maybe they could do that. Many of us take those awards and we kind of just put them wherever. But having a skate deck that would maybe be like a top 10 award, that would be something people want to keep and hang on the wall.
Oh, dude, forget about top 10, man. Those damn things, best ofs, bro. Come on.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Hut 1, Hut 2, Hut 3, Hut. Miggity Mike the Mayor always coming for your gut or something like that. I don't know. I was trying to think how you throw.
How about Miggity Mike the Mayor trying to get rid of his gut? How about that,
dude? Bro, we got you. Okay, so you're out of this the writer's block you told me you had for the album. Man, let's get you back in it, dude. You know what I'm saying? Let's get you back in this.
Oh shit.
I did save a few things that I wanted to mention, and there weren't a lot of things that I had saved in terms of the scene. I did want to remind everyone that Garage Gear Clothing, Mike, they continue to go to just unbelievable shows around the country. I think they were just at the Houston Autorama. But, Mike, we got to give a tip of the cap, man. Like, I asked if you would buy their old trailer so I could borrow. But, dude, their new trailer, did you see that new neon sign they have in that thing, dude? They basically said, dude, we're coming. I mean, dude, they could go to, like, a concourse show and rep in that nice trailer.
Absolutely, man. I tell you what, they definitely know what's up. And not only that, but don't they also offer free shipping?
They do, and I do believe they have free shipping now on orders of $100 or more. And I know some people go, man, that's, maybe that's out of my budget, but that's 4 shirts, right? They have hoodies, T-shirts, hats, accessories. They've got it all, and if you don't want to do the shipping, again, they're at these shows nationwide. And I tell you what, Mike, one of my favorite designs is the Garage Gear Clothing van. I think it's an international metro van. And I tell you what, I saw an awesome one at the Turkey Rod Run that had diesel wheels on it. Shout out to Frank. And the vans and the wagons, and they have both of them, and they're all on their merch. You just got to go under T-shirts at garagegearclothing.com.
Hey, I'm on it right now.
I don't have many scene updates for this week. I'm going to cover a couple things here as we get through the rest of this episode. We're going to try to keep this portion a little bit short so we can get you guys to the interview, but we want to thank Garage Gear Clothing for the continued support. Mike, the industry news, I did want to mention this. This was kind of interesting. Some of you may have seen, if you do watch TV around Thanksgiving, Chevrolet had a pretty cool ad, and it was a classic Chevy Suburban featured in a touching holiday to remember ad. GMauthority.com, they wrote a little article on it, and the video features a classic Suburban touching with a touching storyline about a family reunion. And it's cool to me that they do these throwback. I really dig it. I think it really kind of gets to the heart of, the America and many of us that grew up with these awesome rides. I wish that cars looked a little bit different these days, but Mike, I'm not a designer, and I don't think I'm going to have any kind of say in like what the new Blazer looks like or anything. But unfortunately, it is what it is, right?
It definitely does not look like it used to. That's for damn sure.
Oh, yeah. Now, Mike, the industry updates is brought to you by, have you heard of this show? It's something about the Freaknik, or what's it called? The Freak.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny that you bring that up because I actually just got done talking to Trip Shoot, the promoter for freaking weekend, and they're getting ready to open up their pre-registration And with their pre-registration, you're going to get, your beach starter pack. I mean, it comes with a koozie, it comes with a cooler, it comes with sunglasses, and what was the third thing? There's four things.
A Smutfest ticket?
Yes. Oh, and the passes to the beach party, and you can't miss it, bro.
Dude, I tell you what, he's a little younger, because, Mike, you and I are getting old. I'll speak for myself. I just turned the 5. But, he's a little younger, dude, and he has really got, I don't tip my cap all the time to these great social media guys out there. I know his Instagram's on the rise, which is the freaking, with an I-N, weekend show. But, dude, he is really grabbing people's attention with some of these awesome posts he's doing.
Oh, he definitely, his posts are definitely something else. That's for damn sure.
We may need him to help us a little bit, because I tell you what, like some of these, man, they get my attention. Like he had one that I was like, man, dude, little, I think he see what Trip has been hearing is he's been hearing about Smutfest, and I think he's trying to kind of dovetail in some of it so he can get on. He wants to get on the Smutfest bandwagon. You know what I mean? Who doesn't?
Oh, dude, he could be fucking like a Smut Bandit. He could be the captain of the Smut Bandit team.
Right, he could have one of those like fisherman or the captain hats on with the little anchor deal, and I think he could lead the ship in the port for Smutfest. You know what I mean? Like a Gasparilla. I could see him out there doing it. But we're gonna be at the freaking weekend show. It's September 20th through the 22nd of next year. So for many of us in Florida, it's still summer, and really in the South, it still is. So like you said, Mike, pack your bathing suits and get ready. I've always thought it would be cool to have like a hardcore spring break type feel at a show. And my understanding is this is it. And the cool thing is it's so warm down there in the South. We'll be able to swim and swan dive and whatever they'll let us do at the pools. You know what I mean? But obey all local, what do you call those things? Placards? You know what I mean? If you're not allowed to swan dive, don't do it.
Well, get ready because they're getting ready to release. When I did talk to him, they were talking about how he's getting ready to release all the information about the hotel as far as pricing and so just be prepared because it's coming here. It's coming soon. More info, so stay tuned. Make sure you're following Frickin' Weekend page and Trip and so on and so forth, so you can keep up to date.
Oh yeah. Okay, so next I want to just mention, Mike, there's not a lot of shows left for the year. We've hit a lot of these. Now, I apologize. I continue to mention this one. Severed in the Southwest. So, Severed Ties _AZ on Instagram. If you guys and ladies are anywhere near Arizona, please note every year the first weekend in December is Severed in the Southwest. I know Switch Suspension is the title sponsor. They're good people. You're going to see Sever Ties, the main page, as well as Sever Ties AZ continue to post. Please, if you can, go out to that event. It's very affordable. It's a one-day show. I've been there. It's been 10 years this year that I went. And Mike, I know that show is on the rise, and I think technically, I say on the rise, but it's the longest running show in Arizona, and that's a huge tip of the cap to my Sever Ties brothers and sisters.
Yes, sir. And I know 1 year, ODB and the mayor are going to make it out there.
Oh, yeah. Now, in addition to that, again, there's not a lot of shows left. I just want to hit upon these last couple, and then we have a big reminder for you guys for next year. So we have the grand finale, which is the 8th, 9th, and 10th. That's the following weekend. So December 8th, 9th, and 10th. You have the Toy Drop Auto Show, which is the 9th. That's at Lake Square Mall in the greater Orlando area. I'll be at Rides by the River the 3rd Saturday in Tampa on the 16th for anybody that wants to meet up and do that. But Mike, we're not going to plug the lights in right now. We are going to say next year, the 12th, 13th, and 14th, one of the biggest and baddest shows on the Eastern Seaboard. You know what I'm talking about, Miggity Mike.
Well, I'm going to guess that you're talking about Eastbound Get Down. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. And my understanding, if they listen to this, if they're day one listeners, they got to get in because they've got T-minus a couple of hours, right?
Well, as of right now, pre-registration is supposed to end on December 1st, and so it's going so damn well. I keep telling them that
Let's
we
push it
should.
out like till at least the 4th, dude.
Well, that's what I keep trying to tell, Shannon and Kim, that we should push it out a little bit because, man, it's going really well. And, I made quite a few posts today, and we got quite a few freaking more pre-registrations today. So if the girls are going to allow me to do it, I'm going to extend it out, but we'll see. But guys, definitely would love to have you guys. Destination Daytona there in Ormond Beach, Florida. It's the world's largest Harley Davidson dealership. The host hotel, which is on property, is sold out right now. We do have another host hotel, but basically, guys, just go to eastboundgetdownshow.com and you can find all your information right there. Or follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. Just look up Eastbound Get Down Show, and you'll be able to find it, and you can get all your information you need, or just reach out to me, and I'll get you taken care of. Not a problem. But we definitely look forward to seeing all you guys. We want to thank Big Jeff Audio for coming on as our title sponsor this year. We actually we just got AccuWear signed up, so AccuWear will be in the house, and so Eastbound Get Down powered by AccuWear, so you can't go wrong there. So we definitely thank those guys, and of course Rogue Audio, Lowrider Depot, and Stingray Chevrolet. Are all of our big sponsors. So definitely look forward to it, and we hope you guys can come out and join us.
And Sinners and Saints Friday night pre-party brought to you by the kinfolk at
The Atlantic Truck Meet, man. You definitely want to go and check out that show there in the boardwalk in Atlantic City. First weekend in June. But Mark and his guys will be there at the show, and they sponsored the pre-party on Friday night right there on property. You can't miss it. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a damn good time. We're going to have the cornhole board competition going on, and the corn toss as ODB would call it. So you don't want to miss that. And of course DJ Mays will be there.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait, Mike. And I'll tell you what, tip of the cap to DJ Mays. I know I've been busy and I haven't got a chance to jump on Twitch. But if you guys do me a favor, download Twitch and search DJ Mays Radio. You'll get a notification when he goes live, and it's just a good vibe. It's free music. You can kind of chime in if you want. If I watch on Apple TV, I can't type on that. So, sometimes we'll have it on our phone going, sometimes the Apple TV, the computer, however you consume the content. But Twitch and search DJ Mays Radio. Mike, also eastboundgetdownshow.com. I'm seeing hats and some of the older stickers and some of that other stuff as low as 50 cents for stickers, as low as $10 for hats. I would also encourage people, one of the coolest thing that Mike does, and Mike, John, and the entire team, is they offer wristbands ahead of time. So if you want to not worry about having cash or however you're going to do it, just go on eastboundgetdownshow.com and you can order the wristbands. That way, Mike, you can walk in basically like a boss with your arms swinging. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. And because they are day of show, $20 for the weekend right now on the website, and it'll be up there until showtime. They are $15.
$15 make you hollow. The show updates brought to you by our kinfolk at Local Rides with a Z Mag. This is an awesome magazine, Local Rides, RIDEZ magazine.com. Hit them up. They have a new issue out. They are great people. They have some on sale right now as low as $10. So go out there. It's Local Rides, RIDEZ magazine.com. Good folks, and we appreciate all of their support. Mike, in lieu of the podcast updates this week, I just want to throw a couple more Airhead Nation updates out there. And the big one is this. Look, man, one of our biggest supporters and just a great guy, part of the Garage Gear Clothing team, part of the Lone Star Throwdown team, and of course, the man behind the West Coast Influence, Radar. I did see, unfortunately, that his mom passed away, and I want to send much love to the big homie. He posted Joan Hendricks. She passed away on the 21st. She was born in 1941, in December of 1941. So may she rest in peace, and our thoughts and prayers are with you, our brother. There's a lot going on in the world right now. I know John, a guy by the name of Johann Slush, Sluss, Slush. I'm probably saying that wrong. I apologize. He passed away. Brian Garrett had posted, and everybody say rest in peace to the homie. Mike, it's the holiday season, and I know a lot of people, sometimes struggle because they could have challenges, with their family or with health and things like that. And I just encourage people, if you're in a dark place, reach out to family, friends, reach out to Mike or I if you have to. There's always help, and of course, if you're ever in a situation that you feel like, that things are just at the end, always, I said this many years ago, reach out to the suicide prevention hotline, whatever you got to do. Now, of course, I'm not drawing that conclusion on any one we talked about just now. I'm just saying that, of course, in general, Mike, I know the holidays can be a great time for us. They can be a challenging time for others. So much love and respect to everybody. Do what's best for you and your family. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely, brother.
Podcast updates / Airhead Nation brought to you by Graphics Mafia. Finally, Buddy has continued to post on Instagram, GRAPHIX Mafia.com. If you need signs or door advertisements or stickers, club decals, you name it, hit up Graphics with an X Mafia.com. Mike, the last one we got for you is we got another question that came in on the Eastbound Get Down FAQ, Mike, and some of these guys think they say that you can't make this stuff up, and I totally agree.
Let's hear it. This ought to be good.
I mean, this guy he said he wants to know if there's any way, and I should have asked Rob Seeley because Rob is one of the judges, right? I saw him at Jimmy's Run of Customs Stick.
Yes, sir.
This guy, and I know this is kind of a far-fetched one, but he said, hey, I'd like to talk to Mike Murray and team if there's any way I could schedule a conference call with the judges prior to the show. I want to get a sense for what they're going to be looking for to score my truck. I want to know, I think I'm going to be in the domestic wild class, which I don't think he knows that there's not going to be classes. He did say his tires are also show mounted, but the valve stems are on the back, and he wants to make sure that you guys are going to have mirrors to be able to check all that. So I told him, I said, we'll get right back. Mike, we'll get right back to him. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. And hey, whoever that was, John Smith, I'll go with John Smith.
Yeah.
You can have as much time with those judges as you need.
Okay.
As long as you get there on Friday.
Okay.
And before the show, and then you can go from top to bottom with your vehicle, and they'll give you the lowdown on what they're looking for, and they'll pick your vehicle apart. How about that?
Well, I got the typewriter right here, and I'm actually going to type him a note and send it in the mail just to keep it old school, Mike. What do you think? I mean, you hear the typewriter, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm hearing it right now.
Eastbound Get Down FAQ brought to you by the kinfolk at CNS Metalworks. If you want to bag your car, you need air suspension components like AccuAir. It's C_S_Metalworks with an S. Again, CS Metalworks. Hit up Chris Burns and team at CNS Metalworks. Again, Eastbound Get Down show. Do not miss out, man. This show is building a lot of steam, Mike, and I tell you what, I always have a blast, and I love, even though we joke around a lot, I love that it kind of cools down a little bit. People often say, man, Mike should have had the show in July, and we kind of laugh, and we go, you do know we're talking about Florida. January is a fantastic, beautiful time in the state of Florida, and we hope that you can come out. There's plenty of restaurants to eat around there. There's plenty to do. There's plenty to gallivant around. Stay on the property if you want. But, Mike, it's Eastbound Get Down Show, right? .com.
Yes, sir. And, hey, and guys, there's going to be a special appearance made by ODB himself. He's already got a spot. I can't wait to see Bada Bing there at eastbound get down. What do y'all think?
Scott keeps talking about some rumor about the Bing or whatever, and I said, yeah, the U.S. government has finally acknowledged UFOs. So that's what they're calling them now, the Bings. So,
Oh,
Mike,
shit.
much love to you and Shannon. Stay on the rise, everyone. Rest in peace to Josh. We miss you, homie. Please go to asphaltarmy.com and order some stickers. It's only $1 shipping. And without further ado, we're going to roll into Eric Cryan's audio. Mike, take care, brother. And everyone, have a safe couple of weeks, and we'll hit you soon with our next episode.
Peace.
Hey, so like I said, I'm super excited to sit down with Eric Cryan, and I just want to say, Eric, thanks for taking the time to sit down with OLP.
No problem at all, man. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, for sure, man. Do you mind just sharing a little bit of background about yourself? I assume I kind of know you grew up maybe in Florida, but maybe can you set the record straight?
Yeah, originally I'm from Massachusetts, but I mean, my family moved here when I was maybe 2. So the reality is I've been a South Florida resident my entire life. So I've lived in West Palm Beach, Palm Beach County my whole life. So this is where I've called home forever. So
yeah, I couldn't imagine living anywhere where there's snow. I'm sure you feel the same way.
No. When it gets below 60, I start crying. So
I hear you. Now, here's one thing that I never knew is how did you get involved in like the mini truck world? Like I met you, I think in '97, and I assume that you've always, like many of us, you got bit by the bug. But what's the real story?
Well, I mean, as you already know, I'm in the car audio business, and honestly, man, like growing up in West Palm Beach, there used to be a spot in Lake Worth where everybody used to go, and this was like in the early 90s to mid 90s, Lake Worth Beach, and it was unreal in that era. I mean, it was like probably a solid 6-7 miles of bumper to bumper, and it was just loaded with mini trucks and imports and, all the stuff from that era with, graphicked out little trucks and stuff like that. And, I can remember being 14, 15 years old going there with my buddies that had cars, and, it was just, it grabbed me, man. Like that's pretty much what got me into it, just seeing all the different stuff people were doing. And, and then, at the age of 15, I started working at a car stereo shop, and, we'd be working on some of these cars and seeing the stuff. I mean, granted, I was the guy sweeping the floors in the beginning, but, I was still seeing all the stuff. And it definitely caught my attention. And, when I was able to afford the stuff, I jumped on in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy because if you think back to the late 80s into the 90s with like Vanilla Ice, and then, we had DJ Magic Mike, and then you had, if you go on Spotify or Apple Music and you start looking at these playlists of like Miami bass and things like that whole era, we had a lot of stuff going for us. And if you were a type of person, like you said, that cruised some of the spots, or you had a buddy like I did that had a drop top Mustang, it was like we'd put the top down and cruise out, and it didn't matter that it was stock. It just was a good time.
Yeah, I mean, that era in Lake Worth Beach, I mean, like you were just talking about the, all the bass guys and everything. And man, a couple nights a week, you'd see the Power Supply van there. There was another dude that had an Orion van, so you'd see all that stuff there, and it was killer, so I like very, very cool stuff growing up to see. And, now there isn't a whole lot of that stuff now, but man, it was just crazy back then. So.
Oh yeah. Now, I want to talk about your Peach S10 that when I first met you in '97 briefly.
Yep.
But I think you had told me one time before that you did have a Mazda that predated that. What happened there?
So I had multiple Mazdas before that. I got my first Mazda when I was like 17 years old. I had a '89 B2200 extra cab, and just seeing all the trucks around, it was instantly slammed it and put some Pathfinder wheels on it, and, had it as low as it could possibly go without spending any money at all. So, It rode like crap. The only suspension it had was the tire at that point, but, I thought it was cool. And, that one lasted me about a year. And then, at that point I was, just starting to get a job where I made a little bit of money. And, after a while, I just decided, man, it was time for a new truck. And I started searching for the last year of the B series, like that 2200, 2600 body style. I found I literally drove for every weekend. I would just get on the road and go all the buy here, pay here lots until I found a 93 extra cab 2600i. And, that was like at the time, my dream truck. So found one that had, not that they had a lot of options, but, it had every option in a 2-wheel drive at that point, and bought it and brought it home and just transferred everything from my 89 over to that truck. And then that's where it started. That truck, we went, first week I had it, I dropped it off at a body shop and shaved the emblem, shaved the antenna, and, did a side swing tailgate and then a roll pan, and, then did the stereo in it. And, down here, I mean, you already know Daytona is a big deal. And one of the manufacturers that we dealt with at the stereo shop I worked at, offered to sponsor me. So Soundstream sponsored the truck, and I wanted to go a little over the top with it. So I dropped it off and had the whole bed sheet metaled out and did a few other things to it. It's been so long, I don't remember everything I did to it, but we did hydraulics on the truck to make it lay frame. And that was my first real custom truck, I would say. Like, my first Mazda was mild, it was just a lowered stock truck that was kind of cool for the time. But then the teal Mazda got a little heavy. And then, that truck got stolen. So wow. After it got stolen, that's when Bobby at Mad Mods had the S10 that he had built. It was just kind of sitting off to the side in his carport, and it was starting to look a little rough, and he had it for sale for cheap. I grabbed it, and fortunately paint and body was already done to it, and a couple things needed to be repaired, but nothing crazy. So we fixed all that stuff up and drove. It already had hydraulics. It didn't quite lay frame, but it was low, had a C-notch, nothing crazy. And, the front it was really close to laying frame on 17-inch billets. When I bought it from him, it didn't come with the wheels, and he wanted all his hydraulics out of it. So I immediately took the truck to Frank at Reds in Miami, dropped it off, had him do a all new hydraulic setup, and then a couple weeks later brought it back, had him do, well, actually, I guess you and I met. Was the truck already body dropped when we met?
Yeah, I think it was, because it had it had the barbed wire graphic on it.
Had the graphics on
and
the
you
hood.
had like the composite headlights and stuff.
Yeah, so back and forth a little bit. When I bought the truck from Bobby, it didn't have the Blazer grill and headlights on it. It did have that Eclipse bubble in the hood, and he had modified the front bumper for the bumper lights were, I want to say they were just like round rather than the over, the I guess rectangular shape ones.
Yep.
And literally bought the truck from him 2 weeks before Slam Fest, and took it down to Reds, bought a set of 17-inch welds, staggered billets for it, and put all new hydraulics in it, did a stereo in it, and brought it to Slam Fest.
Yeah, and it looked damn good, man.
Yeah, I was happy with it then, and then some things took place at Slam Fest where somebody made a comment to me, and that was not, probably not the right thing for my pocket, but at that time period I didn't want to hear anybody. So I as soon as I got home, I dropped the truck off back at Reds. Well, first I took the hood off the truck, dropped it off to Dave at Glassack to do graphics on it, and then I dropped the truck back off at Reds and had him fully body drop the truck. And that was kind of a trickle down on that one. It got a little out of hand, and the truck sat in the shop for a long time, and I ended up getting it back maybe 3 weeks before Slam Fest the next year, which is when you and I met. And it was crunch time. Basically, got the truck back and put it all together, and that was how you saw it. So it was, body dropped, the graphics were done on the hood, I finished the interior, and funny thing about it, day before Slam Fest, an old man rolled into the shop that I worked at, saw the truck sitting outside, and made me an offer I couldn't refuse to sell the truck.
Wow.
So literally at Slam Fest, I didn't even own it. I just told him, look, I won't let the truck, I wouldn't even sell the truck, and if he wouldn't let me take it to Slam Fest. So he gave me a deposit and loaded the truck on the trailer. Big John towed it to Slam Fest for me. So I didn't want to take a chance of anything happening to it.
Sure.
So towed it to Slam Fest, and it was gone the day I got home.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember you telling me you sold it, and what people may not realize, like, you're thinking, we're talking like the late 90s, I mean, sure, stuff was kind of popping off on the West Coast, but from the East Coast perspective, I mean, that truck, I remember, of course, Big John's on the big wheels and things like that. Like, you guys were really holding your own, so to speak, down there in South Florida.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, John had, this is, at that time I was in local minis. John had his truck on 20s, and that was literally, as far as I know, that was the first truck on the planet body dropped on 20s. Mm-hmm. And when I went into Reds to buy the 17s, he had a set of 18s in stock, and at the time I was like, oh man, are you crazy? No, that's way too big. So stay with the 17s, and at the time that was, the big size on an S10, so
sure.
It was cool to have it like that. And so that truck was definitely cool. Courtney wanted to shoot it, and then he walked around the back and saw there was some damage on the roll pan, so he ended up not shooting it. So that truck never saw the magazine other than just like show shots.
Yeah, and then at that point, was it one of those trucks, like when you sold it, it kind of disappeared from existence?
Yeah, so the old man had really bad luck with it. So I sold the truck to the old man, and I mean, it was funny because he showed up to the shop I worked at the next day, and I mean, this guy, he was probably late 60s, early 70s. Like, wow. He had no business. He had no business having a truck like that, other than the fact that he had money and he just, wanted it. So never been in anything with adjustable suspension. He literally hopped in the truck, drove it out of the shop, drove it out of the parking lot. And then one of my buddies drove by in a bagged S10 and dragged on him. And the old man literally laid it out in the middle of Okeechobee Boulevard and railed the shit out of it. And he ended up doing a ton of damage to the roll pan. Drove the truck immediately to a body shop, and when it went to that body shop, the truck got broken into. Someone stole the wheels. They stole everything off of it, stole the stereo out of it, and I never saw the truck really right after that. Like they fixed the paint on it. It went to Wicked. They did an all new hydraulic setup in it, and the old man put it in a storage unit, and I never saw it again.
Yeah,
never
never
heard or saw anything about it. Yeah, as far as I know, it's I don't know. Someone said that they saw it in the Carolinas or something, or I don't know. I never saw it again. So unfortunately, it was one of those trucks that if I saw it today, I would buy it back. But it's whatever.
Yeah,
it's long gone now.
Yeah, and we salute you guys because, like, dude, I remember going 96, 97 and seeing your truck, Big John's, that guy Sarkeesian, like these different trucks. There was the one local minis, the Aqua S10, that crazy white and blue and black one. Like, seeing all that stuff down there was like motivation for us,
So that was the Peach truck, the one with the shark looking graphics on it.
Oh,
that was
right.
With like some pink. That was the Peach truck. That was its original paint job, and then Bobby painted it the peach after that, and then I bought it from Bob after that.
Oh,
that's
crazy.
That truck had the graphics on it previously.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. Now, if we're talking like late 97, we remember going to Blood Drag a couple years later when Eddie got that going, and we see the Tacoma. Did you kind of go from the S10, take a quick break, and then jump over and buy the new Tacoma?
There was no break. I had already put money down and ordered that truck before I went to Slamfest.
That's
I just
sick.
didn't want anybody to know. So I had that truck literally 0 miles on it. I bought it. It had I say 0. It had 1 mile on it when I bought it, and I drove it directly from the dealership straight to Wicked. Dropped it off, tried to drop it off. I think I got to Wicked. It had 45 miles on it. Trying to drop it off the body, drop it, and do everything. And unfortunately, I don't remember the guy's name, but there was a Suburban that they had body dropped that I want to say Fester's Suburban that he has now.
The yellow one. Yeah, because it was that awesome kind of darker color.
Yeah, that guy beat me in the shop by a day. So they told me, they're like, man, I had ordered the truck and it took 2-3 weeks to get it. And they had told me look, if you can get here before him, you're getting in. If not, it's first come, first serve. So I got the truck there and I was a day late. So I had to wait till they finished that truck. So I literally drove it home, parked it. It didn't move. I didn't want to put any miles on it. I didn't want to do anything to it. Stock. I wanted it built before I even drove it. So, that was how that one started.
And then once it got laid out and you brought it to Tampa, you basically, the photos, if I remember correctly, from the construction zone, they shot those because I remember seeing it there. So the cab was laid flat. It's kind of the stock color. The bed was all shaved. You had the hydros, all that. Was that one of the first times you brought it out?
So I had the truck. I got it. So the truck was a 99. I bought it end of 98. I bought it November of 98. And it was, I want to say it was done in 98. It was body dropped in 98 and it was a 99. So, Wicked finished it, I want to say just before Christmas. And I drove the truck like that. Actually, no, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. First place I took that truck was Daytona.
Ah, okay.
So that would have been March.
Gotcha.
So I guess my timeline's a little off. Yeah. So, no, because I got the truck in November. I dropped it off to them before the end of the year. So they had it in 98. And we got the truck. I got the truck back. And I think I had time to I put a roll pan on it and took it to Daytona. So there was some pictures of it in Daytona. It cruised around there, and then I drove it like that for a little while. Immediately, I wanted to get it into Mad Mods, and then basically it was just the wait to get in. So the only reason that truck got shot for construction zone and seen the way it was a big argument between Bobby from Mad Mods and I. I did not want to bring the truck out in primer.
Oh.
I really didn't want to do that, but he was just I showed up at Slamfest and it was there.
Yeah, and I know because your standard is so high that you were kind of look, man, when I come out with shit, I want this shit locked in.
No, it wasn't that.
Okay.
So going back, years, my first real car was a Volkswagen Beetle, and I couldn't afford to paint it. It was in primer for almost the whole time I owned it. And it was just one of those things that in my group of friends at that time, it was, oh man, when are you going to paint it? When are you going to paint it?
Right.
So, when I did the truck, I dropped it off to Bobby and I wasn't doing it in phases. I dropped it off to do the whole build, and they just weren't done with it in time for Slamfest. We were trying to have it done for Slamfest. It just didn't work out. So it went there in primer, and it ended up being, I had fun with it. It was cool. So I wasn't upset about it after the fact, but leading up to it, I just, it was a big argument between he and I, because I did not want it to leave the shop unfinished. So, back then it was, we had that was at the early stages of the internet, and you would get all the guys on there that would, talk all their,
shit,
all their stuff. And I didn't really want to be any part of that. So,
Oh yeah. Well, it didn't take long because boom, February rolls around. We drive down from Tampa. in my S10. We, of course, hit Blood Drag, which was that February 2000. And, of course, dude, your truck was like the talk of that weekend, seeing it there in that copper color.
Yeah, the truck was, I mean, at that point, it was what I considered done. We did everything we could to get it done. I had just done a bunch of stuff to the motor, like literally the days leading up to it. I anything I could buy online, or not online, over the phone at that time, anything that I could find to buy for it, I bought. It wasn't a 22 RE like the previous Toyota, so there wasn't a whole lot of stuff available. But, I bought a header, found somebody that had like an exchange program for like a polished valve cover. I had a bunch of little stuff under the hood chromed and, any little thing that I could do. And I had set it up ahead of time. Well, I didn't set it up, but we had discussed it previously, and they were going to shoot the truck for street trucks. Actually, no, at that point it was going to be for mini trucking, and it ended up not working out. I guess Chris Schmidt came down. He was going to shoot the truck, and I don't remember what happened, but it didn't get shot. So, I had fun with it, whatever. Everything was cool. I didn't really care at that point. My truck was finished, so that was good enough for me. And, and then, something we discussed previously, the paint got damaged, and, that's, if you want to get into that story.
Yeah, so exactly. So and I'm going to share a bunch of photos of it when it was sitting in the grass at that Blood Drag, and we always hashtag 99N and then DRGN for the tag that was on it, so you guys can see all these different photos and whatnot. But basically, so between then, and we will get to the Street Trucks feature because that comes out about a year and a half later, but between then and like this, we've kind of heard some bits and pieces of like there was a movie production that wanted to link up with you and kind of use it. Like, how did all that go down?
So the funny part is, originally they didn't even want my truck. They had never even seen my truck. They came to the stereo shop that I worked at, and they were looking for a custom 4-door SUV to do a drive-by shooting scene. And at the time, we had just finished doing the stereo in Dave Porter's Blazer. So, Dave and I at the time were pretty good friends, and my truck was done, his truck was done, and they had basically, blocked off downtown West Palm Beach, the Clematis area, and we drove down there with Dave's truck and my truck. I was just going to hang out with Dave while they used his truck, and they were supposed to pay him to do it. Well, when we got there, they saw my truck sitting behind his, and they were like, "Oh man, what if we laid in the bed of that truck and did it?" And I was starstruck. I hear, "Oh, my truck's going to be in a movie. That'd be so cool."
Right.
So I jumped at the chance, and so they did a drive-by shooting scene where a guy was leaning out the passenger window. Another guy was laying in the bed, and they were shooting automatic. I think one dude had like an Uzi and another dude had an assault rifle. I don't remember exactly, but obviously blanks. But I never thought about it. The shells coming out of the gun chipped up the truck all the way to the metal down the whole passenger side of the truck. There were chips. There were chips on the roof. There were chips on the hood. There were chips in the bed. I mean, there was even chips. There were chips everywhere. So the guys from the movie production, at the time they played it cool, like, "Oh yeah, we'll take care of any damage, no problem, man. If you just get us an estimate and we'll take care of it." Okay. Well, I guess they weren't ready for how much it was going to cost to repaint that truck, because it was a tri-coat color, and there was no blending it. So basically 3/4 of the truck had to get resprayed, and they shit themselves when they saw the number. So
it's like more than their movie production, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was like, at the time it was a crazy number. Now it's, you wouldn't even, it's a fender bender, no big deal.
Right.
But it was, I want to say at the time it was like $6,500 to repair it, because basically it was a full reshoot.
Yep.
And they basically told me, no way, they're not paying that. That's ridiculous. So I ended up just cutting my losses. I think they cut me a check for like $1,500, and I brought the truck to Mad Mods. I was just going to eat it and pay to fix the truck. And at the time, that's when Bones had just popped up in the truck scene.
Oh yeah.
So, he was doing a lot of people's hoods, and, his own personal truck was badass with the graphics. So, he had the bay next door to Mad Mods, and Bobby was like, man, you should talk to him about just doing graphics on it. He's like, at this point, you got to repaint most of the truck. You could bury it in graphics and at least change it. If you're going to spend the money, at least make it different.
Okay.
So, it was definitely more graphics than I wanted to do just to hide all the damage. But, in the end, I was happy with it. So, it didn't really matter. But yeah, so Bones, I ended up, paying his price to graphic the truck, which, at that point it was cheaper to have him graphic the truck than it was to repaint the truck. So he was really cheap for the quality work he was doing. So, he did me a solid and painted the truck, and he had it maybe, I don't know, he had it like 3 months, and got the truck back, and that was that was it with the graphics. That was why it got the graphics, and the only reason it got the graphics.
Yeah, it makes sense now. Now, people are going to ask, right? They're listening to it and they don't know the story. Whatever ended up happening with the movie, did you ever see any footage? Because I've kind of heard different things about, did it ever come out?
So I ended up, there was a movie trailer, and the trailer actually had the scene where they used my truck.
Wow.
But the movie never came out. So there, I remember, I had the pictures somewhere. I don't know. I'd have to find it. I know you had them at some point.
Someone, I think, sent something to me, but I don't remember seeing it. I don't know. That might just be my memory.
Yeah. So the name of the movie was The Librarian, and it was a William Forsythe movie, and it just never happened.
Yeah, got it.
So.
Yeah, no problem. I was just curious more than anything. Now, I've always wondered this because it's ironic because Sean Carlson's brother now lives down. Shout out to Trevor. He lives down your area, which I want to try to link up with him one time. What did you ever kind of feel inspired by some of what you were seeing from the West? Because that's some of what I always assumed in terms of the graphics.
So the forked out tribal design, I dug the shit out of the
Sean's Forerunner.
The Forerunner was badass. That was definitely somewhat of an inspiration for it. What I initially wanted and what I got were two different things, but in the end I was happy, so it really didn't matter. I wanted to do, basically I went to Bones and I brought him pictures, a bunch of trucks, a lot of the different paint styles that I liked.
Yep.
And the Forerunner was obviously one of the graphic jobs that I liked, and it was, just a lot of, last look, just that style of a paint job is what I wanted. And at that time, there really wasn't anybody on this coast that was doing it. So, he jumped in and did what he wanted, and not what he wanted. He did what was his take on what I wanted. He kind of meshed a bunch of stuff together, and that's what we came up with. But by all means, he killed it. For me, it was at the time, I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and it just, super happy. He did a killer job on it.
Yeah, it came out so good, dude. And what I was going to say is I remember, so we saw it at that Blood Drag in February, and then I went to Nopi in 99 and 2000 with the homies, and we saw it up there in September, and boom, it had the graphics on it.
Yep. That was one of the first shows that it went to like that. Yeah, I think that, again, Big John towed it up there to Nopi that year too. Like, John and I were road dogs at the time. We went to all the shows together. So he just fortunately always had the full-size truck, and I had the mini truck, so it worked out good for me.
Oh, yeah. Now, one of my favorite mods on the truck, and maybe only some of the Tacoma guys would pick up on this, but I always thought it was pretty dope that underneath the headlight, you've got that little bit of, I think it's normally a plastic piece, right? Part of the grill. Yours was one of the only ones I can remember where you shaved that piece and it was like fully molded into the fender, I think.
Yeah, so on my truck was a 99. On that truck, it was metal, and behind the grill there was a bolt. So basically, when they shaved the corner light, they welded that piece to the fender, and that bolt that would normally hold that piece in ended up being part of the fender mount. So they did that. They did the one-off cowl hood on it.
That was sick. That was another one of my favorite mods that I think was like so subtle that not everyone noticed it. I'll share some photos of it.
Yeah, it was just like a really, really, it maybe a 2-inch. It wasn't even. It really wasn't even there for any reason. The top of the motor, Wicked, when they did the body drop on the truck, they notched one of the supports underneath the hood, but other than that, nothing needed to come through the hood. But the cowl hood was just kind of, I wanted that look on the truck, and Seth and Bob at the time, I want to say Seth did the hood, but I mean, absolutely killed it. That was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole truck was the hood, and then obviously the sheet metal in the bed. From the sheet metal bed was always a big thing for me. After doing my Mazda, it was kind of like everything had to have a sheet metal bed. If the S10 wasn't already painted when I got it, and if I would have had it longer, it definitely would have got done.
Yep. Got it. Yeah, and I forgot because you did take it. Phil Fowler has sent us photos. Other people have as well, like Tim from NC Florida. But Texas Heat Wave 2000, that's when you and Big John and some of the guys from down there took the long trek to go all the way out to Texas.
Yeah, so actually that truck went out there. That truck went to Heat Wave. Well, funny story. So I'm forgetting part of it. Now you're bringing it back. That truck went to Heat Wave.
When it was white.
When it was all white, still basically a stock truck.
On hydros.
It had the hydro. Well, no. I mean, I say stock, but it wasn't. It wasn't. Right. There was no paint and body. It was still white. But at that point, it just had the roll pan, the body drop, and I think I had done a stereo in it or something. Nothing crazy, but it was still white, and the interior was, I think, like halfway done. It wasn't even finished when we brought it out there, but it was still a brand new truck. And I had brought it out there, and Brant had bought the black Tacoma, Tulo Taco. Mm-hmm. And we parked next to each other, and it was cool, seeing the truck like that. And then same scenario, we weren't even home yet, and at the time it was like the AOL Instant Messenger in the chat rooms. John and I stopped, and somebody said something, and I literally dropped the truck off at Mad Mods like the next day.
Yeah, you're like, here we go.
Somebody said something about the truck, and it wasn't as cool as the black one, and it was a few comments that were made that I just, back then, if somebody had something to say, I'd go all in, and you couldn't tell me anything. So.
Oh yeah. No, I remember, and then we went to, there was a Daytona show. I was looking back at old photos. It was called Truck Expo. They only did it a couple years up at the Speedway, and I remember seeing the truck there. Now, I was always curious when it was shot, because it basically runs in July, I think 01 Street Trucks. Do you remember, was it shot down at Blood Drag that year?
So the truck got shot like 3 times, and it never actually happened. So it got shot for Mini Truckin', I want to say twice. I can't remember who shot it first. I think Mike Self shot it first, and it was promised a cover, but never happened. And Lance had just taken over as editor, if I remember correctly, and he had an issue with the way that I don't remember the politics behind it, but right. It was like Mike Self shot it, but Mike Self left, so they didn't want to shoot it for, I don't know.
It was that whole stuff.
Didn't get shot. So then I had another guy from down here reshot it for what was supposed to be the cover, and they shot it, and Lance didn't like. We shot it by the beach, and there was a palm tree in the background, and he didn't like the palm tree. And, this is before all the Photoshop stuff, I guess. So he was like, oh, it looks like the palm tree's growing out of the truck. And, it was just every excuse he could think of to not run the truck. So at the time, Street Trucks was running, and Courtney was like, dude, I want to run the truck. So we ended up reshooting it again. And we found like a construction site where it was just, a huge sand lot with these big, huge sand hills in the back. I mean, it didn't look South Florida at all. It looked like we were in the desert or something. But
right.
That was the actual, what was shot again, and Courtney ran it in Street Trucks.
Yeah, it came out so good because, dude, like with the interior, that bone color, I guess you could call it, in contrast with the copper and stuff and the graphics. And then the wheels, I mean, those wheels are classic by today's standards. Like, it just had everything, like you said, the hood, the inside the bed, with the graphics, how it flowed through. And I just always thought the front end, like you said, I was kind of forgetting earlier about the shaved corners that obviously tied into those little pieces. But, dude, it just looks so damn awesome, man.
Yeah, so fast forward, when the new front end came out for the Tacoma, I ended up changing the front end, and I had to cut that part off. So it didn't work with the new front end. So unfortunately, that part was gone.
Yeah. So, and I wanted to mention that because here's the thing. So shout out to Jason Redden down south. Of course, I always joke around with him, calling him the mini trucking encyclopedia. But I was showing him, and he didn't realize. So I'm gonna throw him under the bus here. But he didn't realize when I was talking to Dandler one day, one of your NC brothers. I had known that there were some parts that I remember you seeing your truck in a different form, right? With some of that, but you basically ended up swapping some parts with them that I think he's got a wall hanger.
Yeah, so, well, I don't know. I think he has the hood. I don't know what he has. There's a bunch of parts that went all over the place, so I don't know who has what. But I ended up, the truck got, I don't even know what year that new front end would have been. I don't remember at this point.
Right.
But when they changed, I think it was like 01 or something, they changed the front clip to like the more rounded, newer style, crystal clear headlights and all that. I had seen a picture of it. The trucks weren't even on the lot. I ended up going to Toyota, and I had a friend that worked in the parts department at the time, and he loved the truck, and this dude did some crazy research for me, got part numbers, and ended up getting all the parts from Japan. So the trucks hadn't even, the new front end hadn't even hit the lot yet, and I already had it.
Damn.
So I got the headlights, the grill, the hood, and the core support had to change. And then I ended up I got the bumper from Jason. I bought the bumper off his green truck. I want to say we worked a trade for that. And then I sold him the hood. So I drove over to Tampa with the hood and the bumper, and basically got his bumper and some money, came back, and when the core support showed up finally, I took that straight to the chromer. I had the whole core support chromed, and then basically every bracket that bolted to it, because at that point it was off the truck and there wasn't really going to be any downtime. So I had all that stuff chromed. As soon as it came back, we put it on the truck and literally got it bolted on the truck the night prior to blood drag. So it got put on the truck, and I drove it to blood drag. I don't remember what year that would have been. I guess it would have been 01.
Yeah, maybe.
That was the year that Steve, Jason, and myself had the 3 Tacomas parked together.
Oh, right. Yeah. And so I'm guessing the hood that he ended up with probably did get painted.
Yeah, he painted it, but that was the Cal hood off of my truck that he had on his green truck.
Right.
And then the bumper off of my truck I had like the billet covers from Billet and Acrylic Fantasies. I gave him all that stuff with it. So he just repainted the bumper, put it on his truck, and then painted the hood. And then we put the new front end on mine. But the filler panel on the grill was a different shape. So we ended up having to cut the cut the piece off. So like if you look close in the pictures at that show, there's no paint on that edge of the fender. It's just it's raw metal. But the cut was clean enough where nobody really noticed, and I didn't have any touch-up paint. So literally the morning of the show, we ended up pulling the truck out of the shop and drove it to the show.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah, that's pretty cool history. And like I said, the truck was awesome. And I mean, you and I both know. I mean, it was basically a cover truck. It's just whatever those politics were. But I'm just glad that it did run. When Courtney did the write up and the other guy shot it, it came out awesome. And I'm just glad that it was kind of etched in the magazine history.
No, yeah, and then they did like a best of, and it came back out in their whatever,
Yes,
like
that's right.
top whatever trucks. It came out in that too, so that was cool. I was happy with that. No reason to be upset. I mean, it didn't get covered, but oh well, whatever. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Now, so like basically, what like at that point, do you just kind of go, this truck's done a lot? And do you decide, hey, I want to get back to my roots, and you want to do a Mazda, or what ends up happening there?
So that pretty much is how life got in the way.
Yeah. Oh, got it.
At that point, the shop that I had worked at for 9 years, we had a separate shop that was like a wood shop from the retail location. So at that point, I was getting heavy into doing the fabrication stuff for the car audio, and that was pretty much my home. So I was redoing the truck. I decided I wanted to change it up again.
Wow.
And I had bought all the 4Runner sheet metal for the front, but we were changing some stuff up. I was doing the 4Runner fenders. Anki had sponsored me. They gave me a new set of wheels. I put the truck on 20s. At the time I had 18s. So it went on 20s front and rear. And basically, the shop that I worked at, the owner out of nowhere came in on a Friday morning and said, hey guys, shop's closed. I've decided I don't want to do this anymore. And we had nothing going up to it to pretty much, do anything. And at the time, my Tacoma was in the warehouse for the shop in pieces. And I don't know if you remember Jimmy Brown that had the celery stalk colored Ranger, the Splash.
Oh, right.
That was in negative camber. So my truck and his truck were both in the shop. I was doing the stereo and all the interior stuff in his truck at the time. And the owner pretty much told me like, hey dude, look, the lease is up over there. I don't want to renew it. So you got 2 weeks at this point to get all your stuff out of there, or you can take over the lease. So any money that I had put aside to build the truck, it was kind of a sink or swim moment. And that was when I started my business.
Damn.
So, I pretty much, the truck got put on the back burner and I opened the shop, and the shop did well. So, I started making money. It took me probably 6 to 8 months before I was recouped the money I put out and back to the point where I could build the truck. Well, then when I reached out to Bobby at Mad Mods about redoing the truck, because I was like, look, I'm ready to redo it. He was like, bro, I have cars that have been waiting since before we did the truck originally.
Wow.
And Bobby and I, back in those days, we always kind of pony traded and, did our thing back and forth. Like if he had a car in the shop that needed a stereo or something, he would call me. I'd do a stereo in it, and then he'd be like, oh, I know you want to redo some stuff on the car. You want to just work it out. Or I was always doing installs with molded painted stereo stuff, and he would do all the paint and body on them. Mm-hmm. So we'd always trade out. So at that point, I had a pretty substantial credit with him. And he was like, man, if you buy a new truck, I'll do it. He goes, but right now, if I took your Tacoma in, he goes, these dudes are going to lose it. He goes, somebody's going to kill me. So that was where the Mazda came from.
Oh.
So at that point, I went out and found I think that truck was a 90 extra cab B2200. And, big shout out to Donnie. He was a huge contributor, help in that, because I literally had no experience doing any kind of metal fabrication at that point. And, Donnie was like, dude, if you want to do it, he's like, we'll body drop it. We'll do all the suspension. At that point, Donnie was a welder by trade. Mm-hmm. So, he and I, we had a friend, Tom, not Tom Bennett, an older guy, Tom, that had a house with a detached shop next to it that was pretty big. And he was like, listen, you guys are more than welcome to come in here and do whatever you want. He's like, I don't really use the shop. So as long as you're here working on it, whatever time it takes, you're welcome to do it. So it became a night and weekend project. And listen, I had a business at the time that was fairly new. And I can honestly say, Donnie was a rock star. He would go in there after work and, he was super into it. Not saying I wasn't there a lot, but, Donnie was definitely on it more than me. So, we got the truck, body dropped it, did all the suspension on it. I've never really been an air ride guy. I've always been a hydraulic guy. So we did hydraulics in it and got all that stuff done. And then the truck went straight to Mad Mods. And again, sheet metal inside of the bed, and I had big plans for stuff to do to it. The roof had a big dent in it, and rather than fix the dent, we put a huge sliding rag in it. And, pretty much when the truck went there, unfortunate incident, I dropped the truck off. Bobby from Mad Mods had his motorcycle accident. It was either the same day or the next day.
Oh, wow.
So, so that put him in a wheelchair for months. And, at that point it was like, I didn't need the truck. I was building it to have a cool daily driver again, just because I didn't have the Tacoma. So that pretty much, it sat at his shop for a while. And it was, look, at the end of the day, he was my friend.
Sure.
And, he had been in his accident and got hurt. So we weren't really worried about how long it took.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. Health first.
It sat there and, and then I literally dropped it off, and I had two things that were my absolute do not do. And I showed up at the shop and I basically said, look, you can do whatever you want to the truck. The only thing I don't want to do, I don't want to shave the taillights, and I don't want to shave the door handles. So I showed up at the shop, the taillights were gone and the door handles were gone. So,
and you're like,
and
what the F?
His comment was, hey man, you're in Bobby's world, bro. This is how this is going down. So, needless to say, at that point, all right, LED taillights, LED third brake light. And it just, it jumped into a whole another realm on that one. So,
oh yeah. Yeah, that truck came out good, and we'll share some photos. I mean, I shared some in the past, but we'll kind of re-up them so people can see it. But we got a chance to see it at Showfest that year. I mean, with the sliding rag, the hydros, the yellow and white paint, kind of with the graphic. I mean, it really it had that Eric Cryan kind of mix, right? Like the stuff that, for the most part, that you liked, but of course, that was executed very well. Yeah,
I mean, we did pretty much anything and everything we could possibly think of was done to the truck at that point. At Showfest, it wasn't done. It was a little out of the realm for what Donnie and I were capable of. Not going to say we weren't capable of it. It was a little beyond our creativity at the time. So at going to Heatwave back in the day, I could remember seeing all the dualies out there that had like all the tubular stuff in the bed that unbolted and everything was chrome. So the Mazda, I had Mike from Wicked, after Wicked was already closed, he redid the rear suspension on the truck and basically made it so the whole center chunk of the suspension, like the crossbars and the upper mount for the cylinders, all that was all tubular and everything unbolted so it could be chromed, but that never got done. So suspension got done, but I never had the opportunity to take the chance to finish it at that point. The truck never got finished. It was just basically like the exterior of the truck was done and it came down to the interior and the stereo, and I just never had the opportunity to get to it. And life got in the way, and it got backburnered and just never got finished.
Oh yeah,
so, unfortunately.
Well, we'll share some of the photos. I think people will appreciate seeing it again because it was pretty awesome. Now, if we fast forward to, it's ironic because I was going to ask you about like kind of your love for the hydros. Now, on the next build I wanted to talk about was, I believe, and maybe it wasn't the exact next one, but the Expedition comes into play. Was that one of your first rides? Wasn't that on air?
So that was the first truck I ever had on air. That truck, so back to I had to have something cool as a daily driver.
Right.
The Tacoma was sitting there collecting dust, couldn't get done because, too many people would have a problem with that truck getting redone. So building the Mazda, Bobby got into his accident. That was supposed to be my daily driver. So I went and bought the Expedition. So then while I had the Expedition, I was like, I'm just going to put some wheels on it. And that, then it got wheels. And then it was like, yeah. And it was like, what size tire do I put on it? And I was like, man, at the time, the guys at Wicked had just done a buddy of mine's Expedition, and they did hydraulics in the front with airbags in the back. And I was like, man, that'd be super cool, and I could tow the Mazda or the Tacoma when they're done. So I drove that truck, still with its paper plate on it, over to Wicked and had them do. Originally, I dropped it off to do hydraulics in the front and air in the back. It's about doing the hydraulics in the front and the air in the back, and then Rick at Wicked was like, "Dude, just do airbags." He's like, "It's the stuff has come so far now.
We can get the lift. We can make all that."
Well, it wasn't even the lift. It's like my teal Mazda I had done air ride on before we put the hydraulics in it, and it was just, back then it wasn't multiple compressors.
Right.
It was so slow. Like you would have to make an
lines and all that.
Yeah, you'd have to make an appointment to get it off the ground, and it was just like it was manual valves that dumped the air inside the truck, and it stunk like somebody just did a burnout in the truck. And it was so not cool that I didn't want it. And then he was like, listen, man, he's like, we can do electric valves, we can do all this. And, I just went with it. And that was in I want to say that was 02, maybe. It was a 2000 Expedition that I did in 02. So yeah, we did that. And then it was on 22s, and it laid the running board. It didn't lay frame, but it still had the running boards, and they laid out. So it was good enough. I didn't want to cut into the body. I wanted to keep the third row seat, and all that stuff back there. I didn't really want to mess with. So they made it fairly low. It was cool enough, and I had that as a daily driver forever. And then then it was like, all right, well, one of the manufacturers approached me. The owner of Mass Pro Audio approached me, and he was like, man, I need a truck for Daytona. He's like, do you have anything? And at the time, I just got the truck back from doing the air ride, and I was like, well, I just did this truck. And he was like, man, make a list. I'll give you whatever you want. So, we made a list, and I had I think a week to get everything done. So it wasn't crazy for Daytona, but it wasn't Daytona. It was a different show. Mm-hmm. We did the back of the truck for that show, got it all done. I had put a TV in the dash and did the console for the radio, and then did the back of the truck, but the doors weren't done at the time or anything like that. So got it done, brought it to the show. They were super happy, and then they were like, look, if you can do all the doors and finish it, we'd like to take it to CES. So at that point, it was a mad dash to get the doors done and finish it up. And then they towed it out to Vegas for the Consumer Electronics Show. And
which would have been January. Yep.
Yeah, that was in January. And then you saw it. It was, freshly done. And they used it in Daytona for their booth there. So
yeah, and even by today's standards, I mean, the thing was super clean, and like you said, the running boards laid out. I always liked, because I took a couple photos of it that year, the interior, how you did, that was even before people were doing screens, but that screen that you had mounted in there, and you had molded, that whole bezel piece, dude, it looked so nice.
Yeah, I took apart a flip-down TV and molded the bezel into the dash and had it where all the buttons stuck through. So it was at the time it was cool. I guess it still kind of stays with what the trend of people are doing now.
Mm-hmm.
So, now you can get a radio that size, so it's, you don't have to go crazy. But, I don't remember if it was a 9 or a 10-inch screen that we put in there, but, it fit, didn't have to modify the AC. Everything was cool. So as long as I had to modify the AC, it was whatever the biggest thing I could put in there.
Yeah,
so,
that thing was dope, and it was never shot for like even Dub Magazine or anything, huh?
That truck got shot for tailgate.
Oh, did it? Wow.
So that truck ran in tailgate.
God, I don't remember that. Yeah, I'll have to go back and look. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. What was the guy? John
Gilbert, yeah.
Yep, John Gilbert shot it for tailgate. They actually shot it, I want to say they were in town for, maybe it was Blood Drag?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, Eddie Sabreco brought him by my shop, and they shot it, and they shot a couple of my customers' trucks when they were there, so.
Yeah, pretty cool. Now, kind of fast forward from there, I personally, not knowing you as well as like the homie Tom Bennett and some of the guys down south, like Donnie, I always assumed, I was like, man, Eric's got this Tacoma, he's got this Mazda. And I was kind of surprised a few years ago that I think it was like time, you knew it was time, and my understanding was you did let those go.
Yeah, so basically where I live now, I have about 3/4 of a mile of dirt road to get to my house. I had a few other trucks after the expedition. I had some Silverados that were lowered on 26s and stuff like that. And, nice, clean daily driver trucks, nothing crazy. And when I bought this house where I live now, I live in the area they call the acreage in West Palm Beach. So it's like an equestrian area, where people all have 1.25 acre, 2.5 acre lots, but it's all dirt road to get to my house.
Yeah.
So, those trucks were just not practical to have out here. So when I moved out here, the intention was, I'm going to build a shop. Once I build the shop, I can finish the trucks. Well, again, life got in the way. My wife and I ended up, my wife got pregnant with my now 5-year-old daughter.
Yep.
And when I had both those trucks in my 2-car garage, and one day my wife got stuck outside with my, couple-month-old daughter in the rain,
right.
And it just made me feel horrible. So I just, I reached out to a couple people. Bones had been asking about the Mazda, and I just called him and said, dude, if you want it, just come get it. The money thing, I don't care. We can work it out later. It's not a big deal. He wanted it for a daily driver, which, whatever, he ended up doing a trade with somebody, so another guy has it now, but that's whatever. And then Mike, that used to work at Wicked.
Oh, yeah, Donnie and everybody says one-arm Mike, right?
Yep. So I called Mike, and I was like, hey, man, I know you had said at one point you might want the Tacoma. And, he was like, listen, I would love it, but, I just don't want to, he's like, I don't really want to spend the money on a truck. I was like, dude, if you want it, you can have it. So I gave him the Tacoma, and since then he's got it pretty much back. From my understanding, it's a running, driving truck again. He put normal fenders back on it. I know he's got to do some paint work on it, but he put some billets on it, and it's back to together. I think at some point he might get with Bones, and I mean they work together at Miranda Built, so now he's gonna possibly finish the truck back to how it was. So, he's got it now, and, hopefully he gets it back together. That would be cool to see it. In all its glory.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool. And I mean, it's a testament to the work that was put into it. And it's really cool that, you're close enough to these guys to kind of go, hey, look, I know you can be the caretaker to a certain extent. And, you were trying to look out for your family. So nobody's going to argue with that. Sane person is. Now
I built a big shop behind my house. So, eventually I'm set up now where I can build myself something again. So one of these days something will pop up. So we'll see what happens. But there were a couple things that I got in the works and just decided not to go with it. So I don't know. When I find the right project, I'm gonna dive back into it. But as of right now, I'm just, enjoying my family and every penny I have, because I know what's going to happen when I do get another project. I'm going to be, I'm going to be in trouble with the wife. So.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Right, more time. Yeah, and something that many people may not realize is if you think about, I mean, we could do a laundry list of Catch-22. You said Dave Porter's Blazer. All these local mini rides, Schulman's projects. Navigator, the Lightning. I mean, so much like. Some people might go, hey, I know Eric because he had this Tacoma that was featured, right? But when you really look at your contributions for the past, dude, I hate to say we're getting old, like 30 years, almost 25, 30 at least for you. Like, boom. I mean, dude, it's quite a resume, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool back in the day when the mini truck stuff was popping off here. I mean, it was literally like, almost every month there was a magazine that came out that, we played a part or I played a part in doing something to the truck, whether it was, doing wrapping a bunch of panels in tweed or doing a stereo or whatever, it was cool.
Oh yeah.
So, there's been quite a few, and then like the one that most people know me for as far as the audio stuff from back in the day would be Dave's F-150 doing Catch-22, because that thing was, it got seen everywhere, and it got so much press, it was just ridiculous.
Oh yeah. As we wind it down, just the last couple questions, was there anyone that ever like inspired you, like when you were younger? Like, was it anybody down south, or were you looking at the magazines like we all were going, man, I want to build something that was going to be featured in a magazine?
I mean, like yeah, for sure, there were plenty of guys like, growing up in this area, as a kid, the cool trucks were all in, local minis was like the club that had all like the crazy stuff in that era. And, seeing all those guys at Lake Worth Beach, Pete had Blue Aura.
Yeah, Blue Aura. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. Yep.
Yeah. I would see Blue Aura. And then there was an Isuzu that was orange with hydraulics and a dancing bed. I want to say it was like Orange Juice or Orange Appeal or something like that. There were a bunch of trucks. And then just, when I got my first Mazda, started going to the shows, and, that literally I, would see those guys, and it was like, man, they were, I wanted to be a part of that club, and eventually got into the club, and, I was in that club forever. And then, when I, just being around those guys, and, at the time in South Florida, they were the guys that were really doing all the cool shit, like all the trucks, I hate to say it, but it was like that West Coast style. That was the style of trucks these guys were building. It was, I mean, granted it had the South Florida flavor with the bright colors and, the pastels and stuff, but, it was definitely, big inspiration of like the West Coast trucks, and that was killer. And like, as far as the Mazdas, dude, Tom McMurdo's, the yellow standard cab was on the cover. And I mean, that was like, at the time, that was like my dream, was to have a truck like that. And, I mean, fast forward, I think I had a couple trucks like that.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool, so that definitely was a huge inspiration. Honestly, that's why I went with the yellow on the two-tone on the Mazda. Obviously, it was not fully yellow, but that always made me want to have a yellow truck. And, for me, I'm too big of a guy to have a standard cab. I mean, I'm 6'3", so standard cab truck for me just wasn't going to happen. So, always had to have an extra cab, but yeah, that truck was a huge inspiration. And, and then, fast forward when I got into NC, just all those guys, everybody was just at the time pushing the limits. I mean, they still are. So, that was big for me. It was just like seeing all the guys that I idolized as a kid, seeing the magazine trucks, and then getting to know them all. And just, it was super cool. Like my youth, I guess you could say, was, a lot of fun, man. Even, I know I mentioned his name a few times, but like Big John, he and I are still close. And, we went to a ton of shows. He and I literally, it seemed like every month we were, in the truck driving somewhere, across the country to go somewhere, whether it was Texas Heat Wave or Nopi or Show Fest or whatever, we'd always hop in the truck and gone. Everybody else would have an excuse, but he was always my
ride or die,
my guy. Me and him were always going everywhere, so that was always cool.
Yeah,
So.
and I really wanted to give you props. And if you think about, like, for a while, I think some people, especially the West, not necessarily the West Coast, but people looked at Florida as like the Miami base, neons,
Right.
ground effects. But really, when you put the flag in the ground and you go, what you guys were doing, including yourself down south, Big John included, with Bob and Seth and Wicked, and then you had Matt Torgerson up in the greater Orlando area.
Yep.
You had like Rob Scepter, rest in peace, like all these guys, even Bruce Rivera, rest in peace, like they were really representing Florida, saying, hey, we're not just neons and ground effects, we're building some shit. And I think, like, if you really lay down and people knew the history of all of these builds, like some of, like, even your Mazda that maybe never graced a feature, but if you add the culmination of all of that, and with Dave's Red Hot truck, back in the late 80s going to the 90s, like, Florida was really holding our own, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a good time to be around. It was definitely fun. We did a lot of stuff back then that now I would definitely not do the things that I did when I was younger. But I definitely I was known to be the I guess I'll say it. I was the asshole that had no problem doing 80 down the highway and just laying the truck out. And that's even that's how Courtney got to know me, from videos that popped up on the internet. So, but yeah, it was definitely fun, man, yeah, I definitely don't regret any bit of it. Every bit of it, was awesome.
Oh, yeah. The last thing I wanted to touch upon before I let you go, Eric, is I know you don't really need to be plugged, but certainly I want people to know Advanced Audio Solutions.
Yes, Advanced Audio Concepts.
Oh, thank you.
No, Advanced Audio Concepts, yep.
Advanced Audio Concepts on Instagram. You want to follow Eric, and talk to us a little bit about what you do and where you're at.
I'm in Pompano Beach, Florida, which, it's I can see the sign that says "Welcome to Fort Lauderdale" from my shop. It's South Florida. We do a little bit of everything. Anything from exotic cars, motorcycles. We get a ton of the old Chevys. Whether the guys with the donks with the big wheels. That's honestly these days that's probably half of my business. But we do a ton of work. And a lot of fabrication, a lot of but I think it's cool stuff we do. So, my customers seem to think so too. So, hey, as long as there's people willing to pay for it, I'm going to keep doing it. So.
Yeah, and if you check out his page, you'll see he does stereo, interior stuff, all kinds of Dakota Digital gauge stuff, wiring. I mean, really high end. The one last thing, Tim from NC Florida had chimed in, and he said, "Hey, you should have Eric in a brief overview describe what a true donk is, because I know there's a lot of discussion about like Tampa or Miami. It's kind of like the Cuban sandwich, right? Who made it first? But can you just break down for the listeners on what an actual donk is?"
So, all right. Well, that's
fighting
wherever
words,
you
right?
go. Yeah. It's a big thing. Everybody sees a car with big wheels, like, oh, it's a donk. No, that's not what a donk is. A donk is a Chevrolet Impala, Caprice, or Bel Air, 71 through 76. It's a specific body style of car, and in South Florida, the car culture for the donks is ridiculous. Like, if you have a shop in South Florida and you don't have a donk in it, you're not relevant.
Yeah, but it's like having a VHS store right now. Who's really running those?
Yeah, it's literally one of the, if everywhere you go in South Florida, there are donks everywhere. So, I do a lot of mail order stuff for those cars. I literally have guys from all over the country shipping me parts to build them for those cars. And it's like, as much as I hate to admit it,
It's good.
10
Yeah,
years
it's good
ago,
business.
10 years ago, if you would have told me I'd be working on a lot more of these cars than ever, I would have laughed at you. Those in that era, it would have been Porsches and Escalades. And now it's, we'll have a brand new Ferrari and 5 donks. So, it is what it is, man. You know, we roll with it. So
Yeah, and the one thing I'll say about you is I can tell, like you said earlier, like you had one of those career-defining moments where it was a quick wake-up call. You had to go, yo, sink or swim. What am I going to do here? Am I going to go work for another guy? And you followed your passion all those years, and you wouldn't have a long list of, a list for people to get into your shop if you weren't doing hella good work.
yeah, I mean, I can honestly say, my mini truck background is basically what put me where I am today. You know, I have no problem saying that. You know, that community supported me for so long, and they still do. And all the guys that I grew up with in the era of having all the mini trucks and the bagged and body drop trucks, I am still close to this day with quite a few of them. You know, like we talk daily and weekly, whether it be on Instagram or face to face. You know, that's still my
Your fam.
my tight knit group of friends. You know, it's like a lot of the club guys down here. You know, like people don't know that. You know, Tom Bennett, myself, and Big John. At one point, we were all roommates. Tom owned the house always, but we all lived with Tom, and it was fun, man. We had a lot of fun those days, and we're all still close. So.
Yeah, that's good shit, man. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. Of course, Eric Cryan, Negative Camber. I would, again, tell everyone, encourage you guys, check out Advanced Audio Concepts with a C. We'll be sharing some of the throwback photos, some of the different things we've saved over the years. But, dude, we salute you, man, and thank you again, Eric, for taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, brother. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
Yo, it's a wrap. I got to thank Eric Cryan for sitting down with us here at OLP and really shedding a lot of light on different topics, including things I've always been curious about, including the movie that his truck was in. And I want to share with everyone, I was able to find more information on that. Eric and I have since texted back and forth, and we're going to share, probably for the first time via social media, in terms of anything related to our truck scene, a part of the trailer. And I say that because there is just a couple of frames where the truck is in there, which is freaking awesome. So we finally got down to it. The movie did come out, and I'll be sharing that via social media, Facebook, Instagram. So be on the lookout. I want to thank our title sponsor, Scraping the Coast, for the continued support. We'll be out there the third week in June 2024 for Scraping the Coast 2024. Remember, Scraping the Coast is in the Mini Truck Hall of Fame. It's that awesome of a show. This marks 3 weeks in a row. Even with the holiday, I put the pedal to the metal. And although this is not a video episode, it was still 3 weeks in a row. So I can't thank everyone enough for the support. If there's anybody out there that you think would appreciate this content, send them a text, send them a link. It's that simple. Share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram. However you do that, it really helps us out. And again, I can't thank all of the supporters enough. Rest in peace, Josh Pascal. What a good dude. Again, go to asphaltarmy.com. You can buy the sticker. The stickers are $5 a piece, but if you buy two, you're only paying $1 shipping, and all of the money goes to Josh's family. So thanks, Tony Moore and team at Asphalt Army that stepped up to do this. It's a great thing, and it's a great way to try to put a little bit of positivity on a very sad situation and help the family and friends and whatnot. So, again, thanks for all the support. Keep it locked to OLP via social media. We'll see you. Hopefully, you're going to pre-register. I think today's the last day if you're a day one for Eastbound Get Down. Hopefully, they extend it out and put some of those Christmas movies on, some Home Alone, some National Lampoons, and enjoy the family time. We'll hit you in 2 weeks. We've only got a couple episodes left for this year. We're going to keep the pedal stomped as we get sideways into 2024. Last little treat here. Miggity Mike the Mayor, I don't know what he was talking about, but let's roll into it, and then we at ya. Peace out, everyone. If your woman tries to say that she's celibate, that's when you pretty much, you go back to the prenuptial agreement, and you say, nowhere in here. It says, what did you say when you, what do they call them, vows? Or like, Hannah, you want to buy a valve or valves? and you basically say your valves, and you say for better or worse, through thin or through thicker, thicker than a sticker. What was your mini truck wedding or something?
Yeah. Thicker than a sticker.
It was something like that. But it is, what is it? You say, Hannah, I want to buy a valve. And then you go up and you say the words or whatever, and then nobody says anything bad, and then you just go something about kissing or something.
Kissing cousins?
Yeah. You are from Ruskin.
Hey, Shannon lived there for a short period of time, too.